Clarence Thomas, Robert. So I saw the article start trending or start, people like Viva, what do you think about this? And I start reading it. And I'm like, look, if I see any judge taking these lavish gifts, my initial gut reaction is the same as when I found out that Trudeau was taking lavish gifts and then not reporting them. I guess the only difference is that I'm choking on my own tongue here. One of them was actually statutorily illegal, and the other one is not. And so while I might look at both and say it makes me think of lacking ethics or the potential for corruption, if this billionaire Republican who's lavishing Clarence Thomas with gifts for that, as he's been doing for decades, if he has him or his friends before Clarence Thomas, is that going to affect his judgment? Those concerns go off in my mind. But the accusations against Clarence Thomas is that he's been friends with this guy named Harlan Crow, who is a billionaire philanthropist, conservative Republican. They've had a relationship that everyone has known about for decades, because in 2011, the New York Times wrote an article which was basically the same thing as this ProPublica article in 2023, saying the friendship between the two of these raises some ethical questions. They go on vacations together. Harlan Crow donates generously to various what are they called? Whatever, like projects that Clarence is involved with, or his wife. They knew about it in 2011. They said it raises some ethical concerns, but it's not illegal. There's no specific provision of law that makes this illegal or unethical. 12 years later, I guess the ProPublica figures that people's collective memory is short. Let's bring this up again. Try to create a reason to petition for Clarence Thomas to resign from the Supreme Court, or we'll use it as an argument to enhance the Supreme Court, not pack it, but what do they say? There's another word they used. Either way, the bottom line is Clarence Thomas has a several decade-long relationship with a very wealthy conservative billionaire who has financed, donated to Clarence Thomas causes, takes him on lavish vacations, private jets, boats, yachts across Europe, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of gifts, private chefs, yada, yada, yada. Clarence Thomas, I don't know if he's been declaring it as deemed income or taxable income. I don't know if he would have to, but he hasn't been declaring it. And now this issue, of which everyone has been largely aware for the last 12 years, no less, have taken issue with it again. Clarence came out and said, there's nothing wrong with what I did. If there are new guidelines, I will follow them, but I was following the existing guidelines, and it's not illegal, it's not unethical, and I didn't have any obligation to disclose them. Robert, what's your take?
Yeah, it's much ado over nothing. So, I mean, you can see the problem. If anything you do that has a financial benefit for a judge is suddenly illegal, then you couldn't socialize with him, right? I mean, it's nuts. So it's not like he paid for Thomas to go on somebody else's vacation, right? It's not even gifts, in my opinion. It's, hey, do you want to go on my vacation, right? My boat, my plane, my personal chef, my homes. That's not usually, even from a tax perspective, that's not a gift. So that is purely you get to join in somebody else's wealth. It would create all kinds of problems if that was considered suddenly taxable income. All the entourages that hang out with all the stars and celebrities, suddenly they're all engaged in massive tax crimes because they haven't been disclosing anytime they share anything of their own benefits of lifestyle with somebody else. Suddenly that's an income transfer. So that it didn't, in my view, 99% of what they wrote about isn't even meet the definition of a gift to be disclosed in the first place. And of course, it's clear that the only gifts you have to report are gifts that could influence your decisions. And that's not just having somebody who's ideologically aligned with you. The limit is if there's somebody who actually has a case before the court, that's when you disclose. And that's true for every court. And so, this was completely much ado over nothing. No ethics violation by Justice Thomas. No legal violation by Justice Thomas. No tax violation by Justice Thomas. Every judge in America has some version of this. They all go to parties where somebody else pays for the food. Every single one of them. I mean, that was supposed to be disclosed as a gift? I mean, you'd be disclosing things for weeks. Or what you would more likely do is you would never go to a party. Never go to any, you wouldn't socialize with anybody. So, I mean, that was the ludicrous nature of this, is that every single liberal judge doesn't disclose any of this. They go to parties all the time. They don't disclose it. So, I mean, the idea that this had to be disclosed is nuts. So it was just in a way to attack one more smear campaign on Justice Thomas because it drives him crazy. His unwillingness to step down. He's been subject to over 30 years of smear campaigns. The Anita Hill stuff was obvious garbage. She just made that up. And if you didn't know that at the time, you were slow and dim-witted. And so there's no basis for it. It's going to go nowhere. It's just a media story for them to pat themselves on the back about their own lies. More confession through projection, though, because they do this on the left all the time, as is kind of seen with the judge in the Trump case. Apparently, he's been trying to give donations right underneath a certain disclosure limit to hide the fact of how political he is. There's, some of the media couldn't get around to covering that story. But a total nothing burger about Justice Thomas. The short answer is Justice Thomas has rich friends. That's it. That's all that story was.
That's what some of the chat saying. He has rich, powerful friends. Gasp. And the issue with, just to draw the distinction, the material distinction, when Justin Trudeau took the lavish gifts to Aga Khan's private island, Aga Khan was petitioning the government for tens of millions of dollars and getting it. And there was
difference.
Yeah, and there were specific, pieces of legislation on that.
I could understand if Trudeau was going to Cuba. He's got family there.
Well played, sir.